It's time to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, how are you doing?
It's the real me, George.
I was going to say, I think this is your first visit. I've been saying your name all year, but this is the first visit for real, for real.
Exactly. In fact, when I looked back at my calendar, I was surprised to see that it was really right shortly after Thanksgiving,
Is
the
when we
last
last
time that I was actually here
in
with you
in the building.
on air.
All
Okay.
right.
And I got to the point where and I thank you, first of all, for making sure that you announced every week that the America's Money Maven was still on so that nobody got the wrong idea. And so I really appreciate that. And before I go too far, I also want to thank the friendly neighborhood advisor, Mr. Michael Jennings, because Mike stepped into a role that I knew he was prepared for. But it's a big step. Remember
It
back in the
is.
day with us,
Yes.
back at WCNY? Can you remember that, George? WCNY
WCNY
out in Liverpool.
out in
Okay.
Liverpool.
Okay. The first time you had me on air, I thought I was going to die. Okay. I was so nervous. Okay.
Right.
But thank Michael Jennings for stepping in and doing a wonderful job as far as carrying forward the information necessary and that to impact how everyone was getting ready for the end of the year, what was going on with 529 plans, all the things that he just talked about as far as UGTMAs. And we may go back and pull out some of that information to
Mhm.
add a few nuggets to some of the things that he provided. And I also want to thank my team because I took some time off. This is the longest time period, George, that I have taken off since, in fact, since my honeymoon when Earlene and I got married back in 2011 and went to South Africa. And speaking of Africa, while I was away, you went to Africa too, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of things that have taken place since I was last here. But I understand your trip to Ghana was amazing. Our trip
Yes.
when we went to South Africa was mind blowing. It's something that I will never forget. But taking time off and I was asked a few questions around town. One of the things that we forget, I think, is that not only do we need physical rest, sometimes we need mental rest.
Mm.
And that's where I felt I was at near the end of 2024, that I really needed to just let my brain stop for a period of time and rest and rejuvenate and reflect and prepare for what was coming, what would be coming next. I've always had, and I don't know if I've shared this with you, George, a sort of a mental map in my brain about what my life was or how the stair steps were going to play out. And I've always looked at it like a 5-chapter book.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, earlier chapters obviously are your childhood and the things that are going on in some of your young adult areas. And then you have those young, okay, career time frames when you're trying to figure everything out, which is chapter 2. But then you get to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is where you really are starting to hit your stride, where you understand what your mission is. You understand what your motivations are. You understand what you're trying to accomplish and how to execute. Sometimes that chapter is very short. Sometimes that chapter is long. Sometimes it's extra long. But you get to a point in chapter 3 where you realize in order to go to 4 and 5, you need to stop, reflect, rest, and prepare for chapter 4 and chapter 5. And I had reached that point, and I needed to do that in order to be sure that, first of all, you can look back and reflect and see the things that have happened and appreciate them. We don't stop and appreciate anything anymore. We just go, 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 go. And secondly, I wanted to make sure that in that reflection, we could see where the seeds had been planted and how to nurture those seeds for the next 2 chapters to come, which are the next chapter is in when we get to chapter 4. And I think I'm really at the tail end of 3, getting ready to enter 4. But chapter 4 is usually about transfer,
Mm.
transferring the knowledge, the human capital, the lessons, transferring, and then chapter 5 is just right out rest before we decide that and move on to glory. But right now, I'm
What?
looking at the end of chapter 3. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about George. I'm gonna tell you something. We're gonna have some long coffee conversations, maybe a little bourbon in that coffee,
Okay.
talking about what's happened over the last 8, 9 weeks for me. Okay, as far as looking at how these stages are playing out. But right here at the end of chapter 3, I have to stop and say, when I looked back and reflected, and also looked at the forward as far as the transfer process or transfer possibilities on those seeds, you were there. You were there in the room when I started this conversation, when Umia had its Christmas party.
Mm.
And I reflected on the fact that I was looking across the room and I saw Victoria Coit and I saw Mr. Littlejohn, young Jared, okay, excuse me, Cameron Littlejohn.
Cameron, yes.
Cameron, okay, and was looking at all of the young people that in a lot of cases, I mean, when I say they were young, some of those young people were like kindergartners,
Right.
okay, kindergartners, okay, when we started, and they are now in a position. I'm so happy about the seeds that have grown in Syracuse that are equipped and ready to go to and to carry forward all of the experiences that we have built in this local area. In fact, you've got some seeds, I'm sure, that when you look back, first of all, just starting out with your own children.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because, my children are all out of town right now pursuing other things. But I was also thinking, it was Austin Carter was also, I believe, there as well.
He was. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. And so lots of folk in the community who I love seeing the legacy of young people contributing in the community that they grew up in, because we see a lot of folks leave.
Yes, okay.
And that
And
doesn't mean they
even
can't
but
leave, but just the
right, but
idea. Yeah,
even in their leaving, they are carrying a seed that was planted in them here in Syracuse,
right.
and they are moving and transferring that influence to another community to grow in that community. And we never know which community is going to transfer one of their seeds to us. So I don't take it as a loss anymore. I used to look at it as a loss. I look at it as a multiplier going forward. So that's what really was going on. So I'm in, like I said, I'm in the latter part of chapter 3. There are probably some people right now who are listening who are also in their latter part of chapter 3, because I know, okay, based on all the things that are happening around town and some conversations that I've had, that we're all starting to feel a little bit slower. Get up in the morning and things hurt a little bit more. Okay. But there's an urgency. There is an urgency to get the work done. And that's really where I am right now. Okay.
I mean,
Well, in that,
yeah, I was going to say,
yes.
and this week told us everything, right? I mean, it's only been a few days, Vicky, and this president, anyway. So the work has to continue because
Okay, the work has to continue.
yeah,
So that's a nice transition for me. Thanks, George. Okay, you pull me right back into reality here. So I want to say, first of all, because I've been asked questions about what does this all mean?
yeah,
And there are so many things relative to, I'm going to focus on business issues right now. There's so many things relative to business issues that are unwinding in front of us, that, okay, the best thing that I can say at this point in time. In fact, did you follow? Let me back up for a second. Although I was gone, key members of my team and I were working together to create what we called a transition roadmap. So we produced 10 weekly look backs as far as what was happening in the market activity in comparison to 216, in comparison to 224, so
it's a
that we
great.
could see if there were any patterns
Hmm.
that were unfolding that we should make everyone aware of as far as the market activity was concerned. One of the things that we have now noticed is that there was a different maturity in the activity that's happening going forward than there was in 2016. The administration coming in 2016 was very green. So there was a lot of exuberance and a lot of activity and a
Right.
lot of sort of frenetic type of way information was being disseminated, et cetera. And so the market had a lot more frothiness in it. This time, we did not feel that at all. And if we looked at the patterns, the range of volatility was actually a lot less coming in this last, from the time of the vote, okay, as far as November 5th vote, all the way up to the end of the year. So we didn't have the same level of volatility or frenetic motion, okay, and headline type things that were driving the market as they did before. So there's a higher level of maturity there. We also, and I'll share this probably in a couple of weeks, put what I call an ending point, because this was unusual. This was the only second time that we've actually had a president who was president once, have somebody in between, and then elected,
Elected.
okay, with a separation in between. So that also made it very unusual. And if you haven't read the reports, they're all online. You can go onto our website, brackensfsn.com, and follow them. Or if you follow us on LinkedIn, and a lot of people here do, you can go back and read them all because it's called the 100-day report. Okay, that's tracking that activity. But what we have going on right now is an absolute let me see what's the word I want to use. Okay. Verification that what was said on the campaign trail is going to take place. Because there were many people who said, "Oh, don't worry, it's just campaign trail wording and et cetera, but they'll never do some XYZ things." No. Okay. Definitely looks like, based on what's happened as far as the 100 executive orders that have been signed so far, that those things that were touted on the campaign trail are actually going to be implemented. But what I will also say is this: as far as your money is concerned, here are the things that I would be cautious about. One, and we say it all the time, have extra cash. Make sure your liquidity is in order. Make sure that you have a game plan in case there's a disruption in your cash flow. What disruptions are possible? I'm not saying they're absolutely going to happen, but are possible based on some of the things that we're seeing. One of them is the fact that the debt ceiling was not raised. We're not talking about that at all. We're talking about all the things as far as immigration, the energy policies, all those types of things as far as DEI, all very important things. But the debt ceiling not being raised by Congress is going to create, if it hasn't happened already, is going to create stress in the financial system, and it has to be taken care of immediately, because already Janet Yellen, who is still the head of the Treasury, is making sure by hook and crook that there's enough money in the system for bills to be paid for and for us not to default. We cannot default on the debt. If that happens, then we are going to have definite strain in the economy and definite strain in the market. So make sure you are liquid in case that happens, because we actually crossed the level of being in a debt crisis on Tuesday. On Tuesday. Okay. We'll see if we get a vote, okay, between now and next week. All right. Here's the second thing. I call it following the bouncing ball. Follow the money. What did you notice, George, about the money at the inauguration? Follow the money.
Well, you had the billionaires sitting up front ahead of the electeds.
What did that tell you?
The electeds and the appointees. The three richest men in America, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Musk, Three of the richest men in America, front row and center.
Three richest men in America, front row and center, representing what industries?
Tech.
Tech. Okay. And shortly after that, $500 billion was signed into an order in order to create a tech enabled growth process in Texas in AI. So I would say follow the money. Make sure you understand what's happening in the tech industry. The tech industry is going to drive, remember we talked about this, what, 3, 4, 5 years back? The Industrial Revolution history. We are in a new revolution. There is no doubt about it. Between AI and chips, the tech industry is in charge, and it was visibly shown to us during the inauguration. So if you don't understand tech, if you are not paying attention to tech, if you're just saying, oh, it's just hype, no. Follow the money. You always follow the money. But I read a great article, and there's a new term that's out, and I'm going to have to spend some more time, and I'll come back and talk about it more. But what was said in the article is basically this. AI, what do you understand about AI, George?
I mean, well, it could.
Do you really understand it?
What I understand is that it is replacing. Well, maybe not so much AI. So yes, I think I have an understanding of it. But here's the thing that I also understand. Maybe not so much AI as the thing, but the fact that I want to say automation, where we are looking at less labor to produce much more of the output. Robotics, which is a form of tech, right? And other types of things like that, where we need less people to do the same thing or more. So that's what I understand.
Okay. That is partially true. There are a lot of other partial truths out
I
there.
get partial
I give you half of an A.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right.
Here's what the article basically said, which was when I read it, I went like, and I heard it, I went, I cannot believe this. I missed this. Black people don't know much about AI. White people don't know much about AI. All people around the world don't understand most of AI. We are in what's called a jump ball moment. Do you understand what jump ball really reflects around? When you start a game
and you toss the ball up, it's anybody's game.
Ball up,
anybody's ball.
It's anybody's ball.
However, typically the tallest guy of the two guys, they're both of the same, but the taller guy of the two guys gets the ball. Jump ball referring to when basketball games start, they have a jump ball at center court, and then whoever gets the ball is in control. Aha! That's where you go. Aha! Come on.
Whoever gets the ball, but at this point in time, although there may be some taller players on the court,
right,
they don't have the ball yet.
No.
They don't have the ball yet. Okay.
Right.
And I have seen some short guys on the court like Spud Webb.
Yeah.
Remember Spud Webb? Okay.
Yeah, 5'7", won the dunk contest.
Anybody who's on, listening to us, go look up Spud Webb. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was he, like 5'7"?
5'7", and could dunk.
Okay. So because he had and developed and continued to develop a particular skill around an area that he knew he needed to, this is a jump ball moment within the industry of AI. Everybody has an equal opportunity for the first time that I can remember, because of the fact that you didn't have to have something before. You didn't come into the game with pre-knowledge. You didn't come into the game because daddy gave it to me. You didn't come. This is a jump ball moment, folks. And here is the time we're talking about wealth creation and closing the wealth gap. This is the time, as far as closing the wealth gap, that we have the greatest opportunity that we've seen in, 500 years. Actually, the truth is 500 years, as far as that's concerned. We're going to come back and discuss that more also. But George, before we stop, because I know I'm getting long because I've been gone a long time.
You had a
So
lot to say.
y'all all forgive me, okay? Because I missed you, missed talking to everybody that's out there. During this time, it was also the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday,
Right.
and I heard so little about it. And we're getting ready also to go into Black
Oh,
History Month.
oh, oh, hold on. I heard a lot
Uh-huh.
about it.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, because a lot of us, that's what we did on January 20th.
Okay.
Okay? For a lot of us, that's all that was going on January 20th. Okay? So
Well, okay.
I just gotta poke a little bit at that. Well,
Okay. Okay.
we knew it was King Day, and we knew,
Okay.
and when that, because I'm gonna tell you a funny story. As many people as I could ask, they all said, I said, so how you feel about tomorrow? King Day? Oh yeah, I'm ready for it. I got my movies ready. Okay, so King Day took a lot, and you, of course, you had the birthday during the middle of the week, and then you had the actual and federal holiday. Oh no, folk knew about it this year, Vicky. I beg to differ on that.
Okay. All right. Well, guess what? I said I heard very little about it because I was watching the TV trying to see what was going to be said in the inauguration, and I didn't. I heard two lines.
Go ahead.
Two lines. Okay. So I want to make sure. Okay. And I'm so glad. Okay, that you're correcting me on that because I was concerned about that,
Oh no.
but also the fact that we're coming into the beginning. We're coming into the beginning of Black History Month.
Yes.
And in Black History Month, one of the things that I've noticed is that when we look at a lot of the things that we celebrate, we don't celebrate enough, I believe, history that has gone forward. And you know, you and I did
Yeah.
this some years ago, and I want to go
Yeah.
back and pick up some history that is more contemporary,
Yeah.
okay, that's going on right now. So all about the money. George, I was listening to you last week too, by the way. You said the color black is also used too often in a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But I want you to remember in finance, to be in the black is the best thing.
It's the best thing. That's right.
To be in the black is the best thing.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but here's some things I want you to look up. Have you ever been to the US Mint?
No.
Okay. If you live in Washington, D.C., if you can get to Washington, D.C., if you can get to any of the areas where the seven mints are, you should visit the U.S. Mint.
Okay.
But there was a beautiful article about a man. The name is Shallie, Shallie, last name Bay Jr., who led the U.S. Mint with President Carter's trust. This actually happened to come up during the time frame of President Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Funeral.
He lives in North Texas, and he had a proclamation that stands as a testament for him, where he resides there in Fort Worth, when he was made the head of the United States Mint in Philadelphia from 1978 to 1981. At 29 years old, he was nominated by President Carter to become the 16th superintendent of the United States Mint in Philadelphia. Years later, and he was the youngest, by the way, ever to be nominated and confirmed to be
Wow.
the superintendent of any of the mints in the United States. He also was nominated by Carter a second time to be the chairman of the Philadelphia Executive Board, where he oversaw the collaboration between 83 agencies and 53,000 employees. Now, you know, one of the great things about reading things online is they always have these little highlights, you know, click
Right.
here, click
Right.
there.
Right.
This is where it really gets interesting. So there was one little highlight there about the US Mint, and I clicked it. And guess what?
What?
In 2022, who was the president in 2022?
Oh, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, President of the United States, nominated and the Senate unanimously conferred the Honorable Ventris, let me spell it, Ventris, C. Gibson, as the 40th director of the United States Mint. Not just the regional, the whole thing. She is the first African American to lead the U.S. Mint, which is the largest mint in the world. She served as the deputy director prior to that prior to her presidential appointment. She's had a 40-year career in governmental agencies, from the Federal Aviation Administration to the Assistant Administrator for Human Resources, for Resource Management, and for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I went, wow, look at this. Okay, who's controlling the money? And there was another little click. And so I clicked the other one, and this was something that was a reminder. If you want to think about doing something very special as a gift, you should consider purchasing some of the commemorative coins that the mint produces. And there's a full African American section of coins that have been produced that I bet you probably don't even know about, George.
Don't know. No, I don't.
Okay. One of them being there for what I call another hidden figure, and that is a coin for another hidden figure. Her name is Raye, Raye Montague. Raye Jean Montague. She was an American naval engineer.
Okay.
She was credited with creating the first computer-generated draft for U.S. naval ships. Now, she created the draft, a black woman, by the way. She was a female first program manager for all ships for the U.S. Navy. And she started her career because she was a mathematician. They wouldn't let her actually participate in creating and designing ships. And all the engineers got sick one day. And they needed something done. And Raye said, I know how to do that. Because she had been watching, because they wouldn't let her actually do it.
Right.
But she had been watching and observing, and she now became the director of, and ended up creating the first computer-generated draft for U.S. naval ships. But there's all kinds of coins there, Ida B. Wells, Dorothy Height, an entire series, and they're beautiful, beautiful. But the one that I love most, and I know it's a little expensive, but I'm going to try and put it on screen. I know that those people who are listening to us can't, but when you look at it online, you'll see this. And that is, here we go. This is the American Liberty 1/10 ounce 2018 gold proof coin that was produced. And yes, it's $430. Okay, I know what the number says there, but I want you to look at the face, George.
I'm looking.
Okay, and the cornrows, and the depiction of U.S. Liberty in gold back in 2018 when this was struck. We have an opportunity here that if you decided you wanted to do something really special and start a collection as far as coins are concerned, that full African American series there at the U.S. Mint would be a great place to start.
All right.
All right, George, I think I'm done today.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to being back. Okay, in what is that, on the 19th?
You're gonna be back. We should probably just tell folks that you'll be back occasionally.
I'll be back occasionally. Okay.
Yes,
because
and that the friendly neighborhood advisor will hold it down while you are reflecting. What did you say? You gave me some
Okay,
R's.
I am resting, reflecting, and preparing. Okay.
Resting, reflecting, repairing. So
Okay,
you're
but
still
here's
here. You just, you're in the background
yes.
doing. I want to say this. And I actually have to go because we got another one
Okay.
right behind you. But you said to me when we first started that your goal was to pay it forward.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you've done. And that's exactly what you're doing. I also let people know that I've been telling folk to buy tickets to the Jazz Cabaret on February 23rd. And Vicki called me this week and said what?
Sold out. We are 100% sold out. Okay.
And
Thank
so
you.
don't call me because I can't call Vicki.
Right. And say, can you find
by
another
the way,
ticket?
Let me just throw somebody under the bus. I don't want to say, I'm not going to mention any names, but if
Okay.
you call me and Vicki moves the mountain, then you need to go to the mountain. Okay. We'll leave it at that, Vicky.
Okay, but okay, George, I'm gonna take 30 seconds to say something that's really important. This
Yes.
is like the sixth, seventh year that we have sold out, and each year gets earlier and earlier and earlier. I am so grateful to everyone who makes that happen every year, that you get your tickets early and that we have a sold out crowd. But I also am very sad that many of you are going to miss this year's performance and have missed performances before. So here's what I need. We are thinking about moving to a bigger venue. But the only way, we're all about planning. The only way I can do that is to know that you are going to be there to fill this bigger venue.
Okay.
So in order to make us feel confident, we're going to do a pre-sale kind of process. Here it is. Send me an email, vicky.brackens@brackensfsn.com. And all you have to do is say, I'm in for 2026.
Okay.
I'm in for 2026. That will give us a pre-head count, so we know that we feel very confident, because unfortunately we can't. There's not like a baby step venue. You go from where we are to kind of big.
Kind of big.
Okay, kind of big, and we really need to be sure that we can fill the kind of big going forward. All right, George, we're sold out. Looking forward to the 23rd. And if you have any questions, give us a call at 315-930-4499. Subscribe and share. And also subscribe to our new newsletter, Eyes on the Week Ahead. If you go into LinkedIn, you'll see that, Eyes on the Week Ahead. And at this point, George, I'll say our plate is full.
All right. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.